All right, yay! Let's set up a slideshow first before I forget to do it again. Where's that? Do this one first. Select phone. All right. Okay. I got them set up.
Hair check.
Ooh, don't do that, you. I can fix this before we even start. There we go. Boom.
What is happening right here?
It's like you got like a big old part. It's kind of cool. Asymmetrical looking.
No, so part of my bangs did not curl with the rest. They decided to go in the opposite direction and completely ruin my part. So now there's like little curly flyaways. They're not cooperating.
But you're used to that by now.
What do you mean?
I was making a self-deprecating joke. All right. Oh wow, we have 3 viewers already. And we haven't even started the show yet. It's my week for intros.
Just do it every week.
No.
Oh, why not?
That's no fun. How is that fun?
Fine.
All right.
Just.
Okay. I really like this shirt. I didn't go to the multi-stream chat fast enough, and now I can't read what the chat's saying.
Oh no.
Yeah.
What does that say?
Whatever you just type it again.
Can you tell who it is?
It's Nick.
Oh.
Here. I thought I made those bigger. Thought we were going real big. Let's go to there. Done. Okay, and then maybe make this bigger. Move it over here.
Where'd it go?
Oh, you said your hair looks great.
Oh,
there.
thank you.
And then where's the slideshow? Okay, so there's that, and then that ends there. That can actually go up a little bigger. There we go. All right. I don't need this. You do all the hard work.
Thanks.
It's a credit. Anyway.
Like you want me to do all the work?
No, I'm saying you do. It's impressive how much work you do for the show.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You okay there?
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Themes to Be Seen. I'm Matt Klaus.
I'm Tara Kostic.
And we are a show, podcast, etc., that talks about film, the art of music sometimes, and culturally significant pieces that maybe people have overlooked or forgotten about. Mm-hmm. In multiple genres. We talk about, we have a segment about music videos called Themes to Be Heard. We have a segment about older films that maybe one or the other of us hasn't seen in quite a while. Mm-hmm. And that's called Seen Again. And then we have the main show, Themes to Be Seen, where we take a film and we do a deep analysis of almost literally every frame.
And we have been going super deep into Southpaw.
Listen.
So tonight will be our 5th part.
Second to last part.
Yeah.
2 episodes left in the season if you're watching.
1, I think.
Well, this week and next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I really wanted to do this one justice. Like, this is one of the ones, like, I feel like we should redo Drive. Because if you ever paid attention to Themes to Be Seen Classic, Themes to Be Seen The Origins, the original iteration of the show, I feel like we did a good job. Mm-hmm. We just couldn't really convey it with the equipment we had.
Right.
I feel like we could do a better job, but
those need to be remastered.
all of them need to be redone.
Yeah. Because
we worked so hard on them. Mm-hmm. It's like 6 hours per movie that we did.
Yeah.
So, this one I really wanted to do this one justice in the sense of the way we used to do them. Mm-hmm. So, Southpaw said the penultimate Southpaw episode and episode for season 2 tonight. Mm-hmm. We'll get started. Any news? Have we been watching anything in particular? We're still watching Peacemaker. That's fun.
Yeah. I don't know. We watch Peacemaker. We watch RuPaul's Drag Race.
You got into that Janet Jackson documentary.
Yeah, that was just a 2-night thing.
Okay.
That was a week ago. What else have we watched this week?
Well, there's one thing that's a segue into our first segment, but that's a little different.
Yeah. I don't know. This past week was kind of busy. I don't think we watched.
We've been busy consistently for the past month.
Yeah. Like, we just watched the UFC fights last night.
Which will actually come up again later in the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we really watched anything new.
All right. Well, the one thing we have paid attention to and is actually 100 times better than I thought it was going to be is the biopic. Would it be called like a biopic?
It's kind of like the
American Crime Story things.
Like, I don't know how to explain it. Kind of like the tell-all story behind the Pam and Tommy Lee sex tape. But
not in a sleazy way. It almost is made to humanize them. Because
there are some sleazy parts which I expected. Okay, so first off, I love trash. I love campy stuff. I love trashy TV. And when I first saw the commercials for this, I was like, oh, this is going to be some great trash. But then I also felt bad too because I guess Pamela Anderson did not want this to be made. And so there's, that element of consent, just like back then. There was no consent with the tape because it was stolen from a disgruntled carpenter who was doing renovations on Tommy Lee's house. But I do feel like there is a lot of heart in this, and Pamela especially is the heart, and they're really, I don't know, they're showing that side to her, that scene
the
where...
side to both of them, actually. Because I've always been interested in Tommy Lee. And because he presents himself as this, like, sleazy, low-life kind of guy, you know, rock star lifestyle, lives in excess. But then the more you learn about him as a person, he's interesting. And there's some kind of beautiful moments to, how he even came about as a person, like the story behind his parents, and B, how kind of a hopeless romantic he is, in the sense that he's always wanted to be, quote unquote, in love. Like, he had his time with Motley Crue, and then he got married to Heather Locklear, and even in this show, he says like, maybe she was just too conservative for us. She didn't want to have the kind of fun that I wanted to have.
And when you say too conservative for us, it's because there is a scene in this series where he is talking to
his own he's having a whole conversation with his own dick. But that's kind of the thing, isn't it? And it's more of a symbol.
Because apparently he really did do that in his autobiography. He did talk to himself about his feelings for Pamela, about her being the one. But
I also see it as a symbol. You know, like, he had to have that. There was had to have been introspection there, like actual introspection, not just talking to his own dick. Like, he had to have actually sat down and had that conversation with himself about, you know, what he wanted at the time, because he was just coming off of the end of one of the most debaucherous heavy metal bands of all time, and, you know, a highly publicized divorce. So what he actually wanted maybe was to really settle down with somebody that he felt like he was compatible with.
If you think about it, he was really young when he joined Motley Crue, so he was still pretty much a kid when they hit it big. I think maybe he was 18. And so he does kind of strike me as someone who has forever been that age. He is a very flawed person. I've heard both good and bad stories about him, but I do feel like they are doing Pamela a lot of justice in this. Like, that there's that one touching scene where after they're married, because Pamela and Tommy met and they were married after only 4 days of knowing each other, and then there's that scene where they're at the home in Malibu and the King and I is on TV.
That's the scene that got me.
Pamela starts singing the song to him, and it kind of makes you sad to watch it, because it seems like there were these two people who were completely in tune with one another. Like, physically there was that connection, mentally, spiritually there was a connection there.
Because they also showed them practicing, like, manifestation Buddhism together.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's just doing it for her.
He had already been into that prior to meeting her.
So they're practicing this this philosophy together as a couple, like on the same level. And that scene that you brought up with them singing Getting to Know You together. That's when I was watching it, and I was like, up to that point I was like, all right, we're doing like a sleazy biopic, it's gonna be kind of, and then that scene came up and I was like, oh no, they're actually trying to show these two as people, as humans, as people with feelings and hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
And from then on, I was like, oh, so whoever made this show actually cares to tell the story, you know, from a place of caring, at least trying to. And then we find out that one of the people making the show is one of our favorite people.
So, yeah, I just learned yesterday that Lake Bell directed 2 episodes, and she had her own scandal with leaked photos a few years back. There was that big scandal with all these women that had their photos leaked, and she was one of them. So she kind of used her own experience when bringing this show to life. Just there was already that like empathy there, and they didn't set out to do this show to like shame them even further. It's just all around like a very sad story, because it does make you wonder, like, I mean, it pretty toxic, but if it weren't for that happening and all the media and stuff, who knows if they would have lasted longer. I don't know.
It actually, up to the point that we've seen so far, looks like it's out to shame Rand Beltier, who eventually, as we all know through history, kind of got away scot-free. Which is a bummer. It's not kind of a bummer. It's the worst part of the human experience, that sometimes the bad guy doesn't lose. He might not win, but he doesn't lose. And Seth Rogen playing Rand Beltier and Nick Offerman playing his sleazy manager, they're doing great roles.
I will admit, I am not the biggest Seth Rogen fan.
It's a shame.
Made a lot of really horrible stuff that I don't find to be funny, but I do think he is funny in this show. Like, some of his line deliveries are perfect. And
some of his reaction shot when he realizes things and his eyes get all big, he does a good job of that.
Yeah. So it did surprise me. It's shocking to think that's Lily James playing Pamela Anderson.
They did like really cool prosthetics to make her look so much like her.
Yeah, the makeup team on this show definitely deserves some awards, I think. After seeing... So this is a series, and only 3 episodes have been released so far. Later this week, I don't know if they're going to start doing one at a time or if they're going to release like the other half of the series. I'm not sure how that's working, but after seeing this so far, and then like a year or 2 ago, The Dirt came out, and Machine Gun Kelly played Tommy Lee in that. So
awful.
How would you...
It was awful.
His performance or the overall movie?
So, both. Machine Gun Kelly, I'm not a fan of in the first place. Everybody knows I have my problems with him as a person, as an artist, as a human being. He's just he's bad news no matter what part of his life you're looking at. But I also feel like the film didn't do... We also had like 2 cast members from Game of Thrones, British trained actors in that film, who also didn't look good because it was a badly shot. Now, it's based off of the Dirt, the book, the huge selling book. The issue is, it came out looking like one of those VH1 segments at a time biopics where it just kind of hit the important parts, didn't really dig into anything too deep, didn't really get into anybody's like thought processes. It was just like, well, here's an important thing that happened, and then here's an important thing that... And it also didn't do the cool thing that the book did, where because the book was written independently by each member of the band, and then they would
read
argue
each other's parts.
And disagreed or agreed. The movie didn't do that at all. If they'd have showed something, and then a different band member in the movie would have gone, wait. But that's not how I remember it. And it would have gone back and told it in a different way again. That would have been something. This movie was nothing. This movie was literally everything we know just from being alive. Just from noticing that Motley Crue exists.
It was one of those things, I feel like at the time, everyone was like, oh yeah, this is good. But I remember even at the time, the actor who was from Game of Thrones that played Mick Mars, we were like, why didn't they have him play Ozzy? He looked more like Ozzy Osbourne. And then the actor that played Vince Neil, I mean, he's a good actor, but I just didn't physically see the similarity, and it kept taking me out of it. I did like the actor that played Nikki Sixx.
He was actually the one shining spot of that whole film.
Yeah. At the time, this was before I knew everything that I know now about Machine Gun Kelly, because now no matter how hard I try to avoid it, I just can't. There's always some kind of dumb, lame news story about him.
Well, for me, it all starts out with him texting underage girls.
Yeah, which that's been coming out more lately, like his inappropriate comments as well.
And then, every once in a while, it happens once every 5 to 10 years, where somebody in their head gets the idea that, well, I'm better than Eminem. And a lot of those, and we can name all of those people, particularly because none of them exist anymore. None of them. Up to and including even Mariah Carey doesn't even really have a music career anymore. And that kind of all started with her getting into a musical beef with Eminem. And then he decided to, take a couple pot shots and some features, and then we all know about the song Kill Shot, where it hurt Kelly so bad he had to switch genres. Like, how dumb, like, I get it, you're a kid and you're super talented, because up to that point, I actually liked him. He put out 2 albums that I actually was kind of into. And then it was like, how dumb are you? Stop what you're doing. And he just didn't stop. Not only that, getting back to the Tommy Lee portion of what we're supposed to be talking about, he resembles Tommy in the sense that he's tall and skinny, but they had to use bad wigs and spray tans, and they didn't just, like what they're doing now with actually, instead of focusing on that atrocity, we should probably focus on Sebastian Stan here, because he looks like he's having so much fun. He looks like he's having fun doing this role. And B, the mannerisms, touching himself and bouncing his knee, and, he's always shifting, and if he's standing still, his hand's shaking. These are all things you see from Tommy Lee, because the dude, I firmly believe, has some sort of undiagnosed, like, ADHD or something. Like, he's an active guy. He's always moving, and when he talks, he always has this confidence. Like, nothing he could say is particularly wrong, because that's how he thinks of himself,
I do think he got the voice down. It's like if you close your eyes and you listen to him talk, I would think that was actually Tommy Lee. I just wish they had given him lifts or something to wear. That's the one thing that's been driving me crazy, because Sebastian Stan is only like 5'11" and Tommy Lee is like 6 foot.
I think he and I are about the same height.
Yeah,
I think 6'5", 6'6".
So the scenes of him and Pamela together, and they're like the same height. It's just I'm a sucker for detail. So stuff like that, if it's not exactly right, I'm like, ooh, that's kind of taking me out of it. But and there are some times where like his profile, I'm like, oh, he kind of looks like Nikki Sixx from that angle.
He's also doing this thing, and I noticed it when in the scene in the plane right after they get married, where they're actually like,
that was a good scene,
because they're actually legitimately trying,
and you feel that nervousness.
Right, we're here now. What do we do now? And you feel it. It's really good. But in this scene, I noticed he's pushing his chin out a little bit to make his jawline lock, because Tommy has this long face and this long jawline that Sebastian doesn't have. He has kind of like a diamond-shaped face like me. So he's doing, and it's ever so slight, but it helps.
I think they might both be wearing like dental
they're definitely
implants
both.
For this. But yeah, it has been interesting so far. Very sad in a lot of ways.
Awfully sad.
Just especially like thinking of Pamela and all of this, and just knowing now like what happened to her career since then. And it's weird too. Nick said, I didn't plan to watch this, but you guys have me interested in checking it out.
That's the point of the show.
It's on
Hulu.
Hulu?
Yeah.
Or was it HBO Max?
No, it's Hulu.
Hulu?
It's definitely
okay.
your Hulu that we use.
But Yeah, I do think there's been a lot of heart put into it.
A cameo by Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was kind of weird.
But he's good. He's not...
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like an over-the-top... He's actually acting, and he's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I was expecting him to, especially playing the role he played, to be doing, going over the top of it. He's not. He's actually kind of intimidating. He did pretty... I'm here for the return of the Dice Man if we're going to do that.
I was going to say something I forgot.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, but it's just weird to think, like, the 90s, like, when you think of, like, an it girl, like, Pamela Anderson was
It's not going to happen again.
Like, she was, like, that ultimate bombshell of that time. And I was thinking earlier, I was like, today, like, today's celebrities, who would we even consider to be at that level? I mean, have no idea.
Oh, man. Like, and it's weird now because we don't have quote-unquote sex symbol celebrities anymore. And if we do, they're only celebrities because they're celebrities. They're not...
That's what because I'm, like, speaking of Machine Gun Kelly, like, I can think of Megan Fox, but she's not necessarily really known for her career, you know?
I heard the last movie she put out about, it's kind of like a Gerald's Game thing. That last movie she did was actually pretty good, but we haven't gotten anything. Well,
I don't know, but
Jennifer's Body's been getting a
I don't
review.
understand why people like that movie so much. I can remember watching it and wanting to like it and really not liking it, but maybe
I feel the same way.
I could rewatch it, but I just remember being disappointed by it.
Okay.
But then, like, I don't know, like, you think of Pamela Anderson, too, and she's, like, an advocate for animals, and she has this very sweet personality. I don't really get that from Megan Fox, so I don't know. It's just kind of...
A lot of what we know of Megan Fox's personality, and even listening to, like, the uncut version of Eli Roth's Masters of Horror interviews, she seems a little pretentious. Like, all of her thoughts have to be these very deep existential thoughts that kind of go nowhere after she starts talking for a little while. And really, I just want her to get to the point. She's probably super smart and super sweet, but get to it. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be this giant ethereal thing. Just say how you feel, or say why you think something. Not everything has to be connected to your astrological sign.
I don't know.
But, like, yeah, and I mean, I would never compare the two. Which, by the way, we just figured it out. Next week's scene again, Jennifer's Body.
Oh boy.
I feel the same way about it, though. I went into watching Jennifer's Body really excited because I wanted to be a fan of Diablo Cody.
See, I liked the director. She had made this movie called Girl Fight, and it was actually Michelle Rodriguez's first movie. It was a boxing film.
Not so much boxing as it. Girl Fight is to boxing as the movie Fighting is to mixed martial arts.
I mean, there's still that element. It is like a love story too, but I remember liking that movie a lot, and I don't know, I just wasn't impressed with Jennifer's Body.
I went into it because I absolutely positively adore the movie Juno. I feel like if there is a level of heart that can go into writing a film, Juno is the maximum. You know what I mean? And I just didn't get that. I feel like I might have gone into it with too high of expectations. But I loved Juno so much that I was like, oh, that same writer's coming out with another movie. And then I was like, oh, this is kind of mean-spirited.
Yeah. I was excited when I first heard she was supposed to rewrite a new, like, Sweet Valley Twins movie, but then that never surfaced, which is a bummer because I grew up reading those books, like Sweet Valley Kids, Sweet Valley Twins, Sweet Valley High. I think they even had, like, college books and, like, mystery books and stuff. I used to have, like, a map in my room of, like, the town and where, like, all the characters lived. I think that was, like, a Sweet Valley Kids kind of thing. Like, it was a map that came in one of the books, and now I need to find this again. I should write this down, but...
that's a lot.
I loved those books.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. This is new information to me. But we've used all of that 20-minute segue to say that our Scene Again film this week is, what year is it from? 1990?
95.
1995's Barbed Wire, starring Pamela Anderson Lee, Tamora Morrison, with a small part from Clint Howard.
Oh, there's a lot of people
in this.
But the reason we decided to do this movie is because in the Pam and Tommy series, Barbed Wire is about to come out, and it goes into how Pamela is getting fed up with Baywatch because she wants to be given more lines, and she wants to prove herself as an actress. And so she has this movie coming out, and there's a scene where she meets with her publicist, and they're going over how they're gonna market the film and work on their narrative. And the career that Pamela Anderson most admired was Jane Fonda's, because Jane Fonda she was like a girl next door, and then she made these, like, films that turned her into a sex symbol, and then she started making Oscar-winning movies, and that was kind of the whole path that she wanted to take.
And she also says that the whole time she's also practicing what Jane Fonda is now most famous for, and that's her activism.
Yeah.
She's getting arrested at rallies and fighting the good fight. The whole time she's making these awesome career changes. And actually, even all the way to today, she never really has seemed shaken by it.
Yeah.
Like, she just does what she does, and, you know.
And I had never seen Barbed Wire, and apparently it is a movie that you used to watch over and over.
Not over and over. I saw it, like I saw it when it came out when I was a kid, and I think I watched it a couple times, but it wasn't like a movie that I consistently watched over and over. Like, I remember seeing it.
Okay.
I think I was too young for what you're implying, but
I didn't know. That's what you said when we first talked about it, so that was what I automatically assumed. But, yeah, so Pamela made Barbed Wire not that long after she and Tommy were married, which I'm going to have to go back and rewatch the Hulu series now, because I'm trying to remember if they had given her that tattoo before they met.
No. Because the first time we see it, it's like almost purposefully prominent in the conversation with her publicist. And before that, it's not there.
There is a scene where the Carpenters, they're getting upset with Tommy because he keeps changing the layout plans, and he wants them to redo the bedroom. So they're out, like, in their van, like, complaining, and then Tommy and Pamela come driving out, and she does have it on her arm. Which
may or may not have been because they never really address when she's shooting. They just address when it's already done.
But I believe they didn't start shooting this until after they were married, because I read an interview that she did have... So there were some issues with this film. There was originally going to be a different director that dropped out, so then they brought in David Hogan, who mostly directed music videos, and he was like a second cameraman on like Batman Forever or something like that.
Which
And then
second unit directors are generally, and this is, we'll get into this more, especially because it's one of the things that we outwardly notice, but second unit directors are good at shots, not putting them together.
Mm-hmm. But she said in the interview, so all of that happened, and then she was recently married, and then she had some health issues, and I guess one of the health issues she had was she had an early pregnancy and ended up having a miscarriage. So that was something that went on like early on making the movie, but Pamela Anderson got the comics. Barbed Wire started as a Dark Horse comic, and she really loved the character. The riding the motorcycle, shooting the guns, wearing the leather and everything. She said it was everything that she wanted to do in a movie. It was so different from what she was doing on Baywatch. And instead of having the makeup department putting this tattoo on her arm every day, she just went out and got an actual tattoo on her arm. That's how devoted she was to this character. So it is a shame, like, just how it turned out and everything like that.
And Dark Horse Comics is a subsidiary of DC, and it's all, darker. It's all, blood and guts and guns and sharp edges. And I believe that it's gone under now. Yeah. I think it went under sometime in the mid-2000s. But we actually probably, if I went through, I could find you probably 5 or 6 movies that were originally Dark Horse Comics that nobody really knows about.
So I believe Barbed Wire first showed up in a comic in like 1993, and then there was between 1994 and 1995 there were 9 specific Barbed Wire comics that were published. And then with this movie, there was also supposed to be a video game that was going to be developed. That was never released. Basically, this was supposed to be Pamela Anderson's big break into the movies. Like, what was supposed to launch her to be this big movie star, and it was a colossal flop. It was made for $9 million.
Which is not enough.
It only made $3.8 million at the box office, and it did kind of tank her acting career. And then, of course, like, I think, this was made 95, and then it was released 96, I believe, and then, of course, that was around, like, when the sex tape was released, so...
Which I also believe that the sex tape may or may not have had something to do with the film doing as poorly as it did. I don't believe the film was going to be a huge success regardless with the way it came out. Yeah. But that happening simultaneously definitely didn't help.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely made them very popular. I still remember the whole scandal with it and everything. But, so yeah, this was my first time actually seeing the movie, and I love trashy things. I love campy movies, and sad to say, I was really excited for this movie, but it was not as fun as I wanted it to be. It was kind of disappointing. There were moments of brilliance, I think. Like, there was a lot of potential to this.
Like I
the
said
opening
earlier,
sequence is pretty spectacular, I have to say, with her like dancing.
Oh yeah. There's
with
also
the water.
There's also, well, right at the beginning we get a scroll.
Yeah.
And I wanted to point this out because it's something that we both looked at each other when it happened, and we went, "Wait, what?" Because there's a scroll, and then 10 minutes into the film, the character, Barb, actually just reiterates everything the scroll said.
I don't even know where to begin. Overall, this movie was, like, a mess.
It was a mess.
It was all over the place. The tone was all over. So essentially, this movie came out 95, 96. It takes place in 2017 during the Second American Civil War.
Almost more accurate than it meant to be.
Yet it still feels so 90s. Like, you watch this movie and it just takes you right back to the 90s.
Oh, yeah. There are cool images. And one of the things we said was the star of the movie is the star of the movie is the costume designer.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody in the movie looks great.
Mm-hmm.
The congressionals, they obviously are almost Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
Barb, through the whole film, has a really cool aesthetic. Even like the Tamura Morrison character Axel.
Yeah, so apparently Barbed Wire's ex is Boba Fett.
Yeah. Oh, if you're not familiar with Tamura Morrison, he's always been Boba Fett, and now predominantly in the book of Boba Fett. One of the things we noticed was in this film, not bad at fight choreography, pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
He looks good doing bad fight choreography.
Except that one fight at the end.
And I had to point that out. And it's funny once you see it, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, so basically, the year is 2017. Every city in America is under martial law, except for Steel Harbor and Pamela Anderson. Barbed Wire. I feel like I'm going to keep calling her Pamela Anderson.
Barbara Kopinski.
Yeah, Barb, don't call her Babe, call her Barb, owns a club. And when the reviews for this movie came out, there were a few people, including Roger Ebert, who immediately saw the similarities to Casablanca. So you watch this and it does feel like it's...
Kind of.
Yeah.
Well, like they took almost like the story beats of Casablanca, the story ideas of Casablanca, and worked them into a post-apocalyptic film.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like there are some really cool shots. There's I don't know. It just feels all over the place. Like you'll get random moments where suddenly there's a voiceover from Barb, and then you'll go long periods without one, and then suddenly a new one comes in. I felt like the director felt like he had to over-explain things, which is probably why, like, the movie starts with the scroll, and then less than 10 minutes later, you have Barb, like, it's a cool-looking shot, like, the sky looks all red, and she's, like, in the car looking out, and then I liked her voiceover. She has a nice-sounding voice, but it wasn't needed.
She does a good character, the whole movie.
Yeah, well, and that was the thing, too, like, if they had a director who maybe was more experienced outside of just doing music videos where you don't necessarily have to worry about line deliveries and stuff, because going in, the character to me felt pretty one note. I was like, wow, like she's just delivering all of her lines the same way. And then we get to a later club scene where she meets with Axel, and that's like the first time we see this emotion from her, and it's because he was her like former boyfriend, and we get like a quick flashback to what happened to them and how he didn't show up, and he basically like disappeared, so she's holding a grudge against him. And there's this like quick shot where she makes him leave, and then it's like she's getting tears in her eyes, and then it just flashes to something else. And I would have liked if maybe the director
stay on that.
Yeah, because then it made sense to me. Okay, so she's been like so dry and cold this whole time because she is like withholding her emotions. Like, it made it make more sense to me but then they just didn't take it to that level.
And this is another example of something we've talked about before. Maybe not on the show. I think we may have mentioned it on the show, but directors not respecting their audience's intelligence. And it's something that happens in a ton of movies. When a director forgets that the audience isn't stupid, you get things like added in needless ADR, a scroll and an explanation. You get things like it seems like last minute written dialogue that the actor doesn't look like they've practiced because they just got it right then and there, and for some reason it's saying something that we've either already seen or we've already figured out.
Yeah, speaking of really bad ADR, there's one line that came to me immediately, and it's after the scene I was just talking about where Barb sees Axel for the first time, and then we do finally see that emotion. And then Axel and Cora, his new wife, Cora's this doctor that the government is after, they're walking outside, and for no reason, we already got the idea of what is going on, and then it sounds so out of place because you can tell they just added it in. Out of nowhere, for no reason at all, Cora's like, that woman's in love with you. And it's just, there was no reason.
Which also, I don't even believe that it's that actress's voice. It doesn't even sound like...
I think it was, but it just it really sounded
bad.
Out of place. And it was not needed. It was like, you don't need to... we get the idea. We just saw what happened. There were a few scenes like that did make me laugh out loud, and that's not the reason I want to laugh at a movie. Like,
right. Right.
Some of the choices made here, like there's a lot of scenes, a lot of dialogue that's like more, it's like exposition dialogue, like it is really trying to explain to you what's going on, and then there's all these like blackout transitions happening.
Instead of just going from a scene to a scene, the edit blacks all the way out and then fades into the next scene, and it happens so often that you notice it.
Or like a character is explaining something and it starts doing the blackout thing and then showing what is happening, and it's like
which is funny because every once in a while something in the movie will happen and you'll go, oh, well, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, like I said, there's moments where it's like, oh, this could have been so good. Like, this cast deserved better. Like, Pamela deserved better than
everybody
this.
Involved in this film deserved better except for this direct. I firmly under the belief that the production company and the director are the reason this movie turned out the way it did, because you can tell actors wanted to do well. In the moments where Tamura Morrison and the actress playing the doctor, why is her name skip my mind?
I forget her name.
But maybe they were planning for a TV edit eventually. Well,
I don't know. I was surprised at the nudity in this. Like,
there's a couple of and it's not just Pamela. There's like other women in the background.
But I mean, Pamela really went for it. I was not expecting to see that, but that's why this is also a bummer, because I do feel like she really wanted to do this and she really wanted to own it. And
which there is nudity in the comics.
Yeah.
The Barbed Wire comics, there's also nudity.
One thing I will say, too, I kind of wanted there to be more action scenes with her.
Yes.
Because I do feel like she did well in the action scenes.
She did well in the action scenes, and I feel like she herself got all the comics and then practiced in a mirror what Barb looked like in panels. Because there are points in this film where you see Barb, and like the scene that's right there, when she's got her back to the table and like the one shoe out and the gun like pressed against her face. That is it's something that would be drawn, not naturally done in a movie. So I really feel like she cared about doing about giving these moments of seeing the actual character from the comic in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy part is, physically, she actually looks just like... I mean, the character was drawn before Pamela Anderson was, the star she was, and it just happens to be that she looks just like the character.
Mm-hmm.
So she wanted to look like the character in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple moments where she does her justice.
Yeah. It's just a bummer, because I did see a lot of potential in this, and it could have been so much better. And then you've got, Xander Berkeley,
who's amazing,
Udo Kier, Clint Howard, this surprising cast in this movie.
You're forgetting one of the people who's awesome in this movie.
Who?
Is it David Noseworthy? No.
Jack Noseworthy.
Jack Noseworthy?
Yeah, he plays Charlie, her brother.
He's really good in this, actually.
He was everywhere at that time.
He's really good in this.
Yeah,
I feel like he is one of the shining points of this film.
At this time in the 90s, he was doing Bon Jovi music videos. He was in Event Horizon.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like he was everywhere.
He was everywhere. And he looks like that point of the 90s. That is what the cool guys looked like. He had this long flowing blonde hair,
mm-hmm.
and he was an attractive guy.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, it just felt all over the place to me. There were moments where it felt campy, and then other moments where it just felt too serious, the Fatso character.
That was a little mean-spirited.
Well, I was like, if you're gonna go there, then why don't you have more crazy characters like that in this movie?
It was almost Mad Max.
Yes, that sequence really felt like that to me.
And conversely, and we keep going back and forth on this, but conversely, you get the scene of her with the foam explosives in the mattress,
mm-hmm.
which is a super cool thing that she does,
mm-hmm.
and you get the little signal jammer that her brother Charlie uses, and you're like, oh, that was kind of cool. She knew it was there, and it was coordinated, but the audience didn't know it. That was, when you get scenes like that, you go, oh, well, that was kind of cool. And then you want more of those, because those are the moments where it feels like, all right, Barb and Charlie know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. The villain too, most of the movie he's really serious, and then their fight at the end he's more unhinged, and it's why what
I kind of
I didn't think he was a very threatening villain, because then most of his scenes too, you have Xander Berkeley cracking jokes behind him and making him seem not threatening.
I feel like the Xander Berkeley character was perfect, but the
mm-hmm.
guy delivering the main villain character needed to be much more and again, the problem with that actor doing that role is the same problem as the rest of the movie, is you need to either go campier or darker,
mm-hmm.
and he walked the line that makes it not entertaining.
Yeah.
Either be mustache twirling, I'm gonna get her, or be the super dark one.
Mm-hmm.
But he does a little bit of both, and it kind of throws you off.
Yeah. I don't know. This was just
and I feel like the problem is we wanted it to be better.
Yeah. I those so bad it's good kind of movies, but it did end up feeling just average to me, which I was bummed, because you have that awesome opening, and then she does have some good one-liners, and
mm-hmm.
some of her action scenes were good, and
a lot of the action scenes with Pam are good.
Yeah.
There's one good kind of cool fight scene with Tamura Morrison's actual character where he's taking down a bunch of no-name thugs.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we'll talk about that one scene.
Okay.
So everybody knows that I am a fight choreography connoisseur. One of my dreams in life is to shoot a film where the fight choreography is immaculate. And I feel like the closest thing we've gotten most recently is Extraction, where the fight choreography is completely on point and actually forwards the story. Mm-hmm. Which, them bringing that character back to life just ruins the first movie.
I don't know how they're going to do that.
It's stupid. They should have just let him die and like, oh, we're going to move on with the story of the little boy. It's a different episode. Anyway, there's one scene of cool action choreography, and then at the end, the Axel character is fighting like the main villain's second, and they're on top of a crane that magically is hundreds of feet in the air. We didn't see it get there.
I don't remember. I was like, did I turn my head for a quick second? How did they get up there? Where's the doctor? How did the crane, like, originally when we see the crane, it's, 50 feet high, mm-hmm. which is generally where those large mount cranes are. Mm-hmm. And then once we see it when this fight scene goes on, it is 120, 150 feet in the air. It is way too high for those cranes to be safely anyway. Mm-hmm. How'd it get there? But now, the main second and the Axel character are on top of it. Like, not in the cab, on top of it. And they're having a fight scene. And I watched it, and I went, hold on, Tara, watch this. And I rewound it, and I said, punch, dodge, elbow to the back. Other person, punch, dodge, other person, elbow to the back. Mm-hmm. One more time, run it again, fall off the crane. And it is literally that. It is literally each person doing the same move, the same sequence, mm-hmm. 3 times. And that's the whole fight scene. And I couldn't believe my eyes that they thought nobody would see that. It was shockingly lazy.
Super lazy. which is kind of bummer because both of the actors involved are trying to sell it. Mm-hmm. Tamora Morrison gives a good step with it, and the other guy almost does a Superman elbow as he's doing it. But they're trying, but it is awful choreography. And when fight choreography is so bad you notice it, mm-hmm. then it becomes, okay, who did that? And when that was presented to the director, mm-hmm. how was that person not fired immediately? If I'm a director and I'm not personally doing the fight choreography, which is never going to happen if I direct anything, but I have somebody doing choreography and they bring me something that's that lazy, they will immediately be walked off my set.
To be fair, this might have been David Hogan's first time really doing action like this, because from what I can recall, the music videos that he's done were for artists like Sheryl Crow, Shania Twain, Gretchen Wilson. In the 90s, there was a Three Musketeers movie, and Sting, Rod Stewart, and Bryan Adams had a song together, and I believe he directed that video.
Is that the one with Gerard, the one for the Gerard Depardieu Three Musketeers movie?
I don't know.
Or
I know
one
it
for
had
the Oliver Platt Three Musketeers movie.
That one with Kiefer Sutherland.
Okay. Wait, I think that's the same movie.
I don't know. I never saw it.
There was 2 that came out approximately at the same time about Three Musketeers.
I have no idea.
Oh.
So yeah, it seems like he's done a lot of country music kind of music videos, and he worked on Batman Forever and I think Alien 3, but
okay.
The
Batman Forever, fun. Not great. Mm-hmm. Fun. I will defend Batman Forever to the people who have...
Is that the Val Kilmer
one?
It
is.
That was a good soundtrack. It's
a great soundtrack, but you also have, you have Val Kilmer trying his best. You got Jim Carrey in his prime, and you got Tommy Lee just completely pissed off by the rest of the cast. and it shows. Notoriously hates Jim Carrey.
Yeah, Google Tommy Lee and Jim Carrey. If
that might be a
never
future
read
scene
that
again,
before,
actually. But then we get to Aliens 3, and if you're a second unit director on a movie like that, that went through 3 directors. A, you're not getting any continuous advice from anybody, because second unit directors moving on into head direction, you do well. Spielberg was a second unit director under why did I just blank?
George Lucas?
Yes. Thank you. Jesus. But like that's like supposed to be the stepping stone. But when you're a second unit director under 3 directors on one film and you're not getting that advice that makes sense, you're going to have those wires crossed when you make your own film. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's one of the things that happened here. That and severe laziness.
That's the thing about this movie. There's moments where there is great energy, and then there's like also moments of sheer laziness.
Can we talk about how the last shot in this film? Can we talk about the last scene in this film? It's shot for shot, cut for cut, exactly the end of Casablanca.
Where she turns around to look at the camera.
They have that conversation. Helicopter's behind. Yeah. You see the helicopter just like you see the plane.
Yeah.
She lets him go. She almost she gives a line that is not like a "here's looking at you," but almost. And then she turns away and then looks at the camera, and it's shot for shot the end of Casablanca.
Oh, it's a shot where she and Willis, the police officer played by Xander Berkeley, they're just looking at each other, and I forget the exact line that she says. Oh, he says something like, "I might fall in love with you," and then she's like, "Get in line," and then it's just like these 3 cuts of her looking at the camera, and then it goes right to credits.
The end of this movie has one shot, one here, and that's it, of Diana Lee Inosanto. She's in this for one cut. It's a second. Diana Lee Inosanto, niece of Bruce Lee, daughter of legendary martial artist Dan Inosanto, for some reason is in this movie for 2.5 seconds. What? Why? That's so confusing to me. Because, I was looking through the cast and I was like, wait, what? No way. And then I looked up right as it shows her face and then never shows her. Why? Why even?
I don't know.
Maybe it was, her trying to make her own name in acting. But, you don't really have to do that. She's a black belt in 2 arts before she was 20. She could probably just get into any action movie she wants.
Who knows? I will say, though, this movie does have a pretty cool soundtrack. It's very of its time.
It's almost like the Crow sounding soundtrack.
Yeah, it's mostly cover songs. That opening sequence of her dancing with the water, it's a cover of Word Up, which is pretty cool.
But it's done industrial.
Yeah, that's the thing. And then that end credit song, it's a Tommy Lee song.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a cover of Hot Child in the City.
And it's all industrial. It's all what do they call that? Well, I mean, yeah, industrial,
it's
but pre-grunge.
Yeah, it's weird to think this and Strange Days probably came out around that time, because the soundtrack to that movie was pretty similar too, and then in that one you have Juliette Lewis singing PJ Harvey songs. But
I wish we could find a better version of Strange Days.
So yeah, there's some cool shots and one-liners. It has the soundtrack going for it. It has Camille, the Rottweiler. Shout out to
Oh, and
the
she's
Rottweiler.
actually, they do some cool stuff with the... one of the things that I was worried about was, we were talking about it last night, and you were like... Or 2 days ago, when we decided to do it. And you were like, ooh, she has a dog. And I was like, that dog is going to be in this movie for 2 minutes, and she's just going to stand there, and I don't even want to bring up that they're probably going to kill off the dog.
I don't think Pamela Anderson would have done this movie if they killed the dog.
Right. But then, they kind of do some fun stuff with the dog. The dog has a couple of scenes of its own.
Yeah.
That you're like, oh, cool. Good job, Camille.
The package check scene.
Well, the package check scene is kind of cool. That guy's a stuntman who's been in a shit ton of stuff. There's another bad guy extra in this who's a bad guy in every 90s action, low-budget action movie. But there's that, and then Udo Kier, who plays basically the Sam character in this. Udo Kier plays her assistant, maitre d' at the bar she owns. He is arguing with someone over talking to Barb about business. And he says, well, if you're not going to listen to me, you can take it up with her secretary, Camille. And he starts walking up the stairs, and the Rottweiler almost bites his face off. It's a good bit. It's a good bit. I wish it would have come back to a bad guy trying to run up the stairs and running into her, but
I was hoping the dog would be in it more.
Oh, the scene where she's like, you take care of Camille, and the dog actually looks sad.
I was kind of surprised at that. I was like, wait, she's gonna leave her dog?
But in her defense, where she was going was kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
So
I do think it's funny. One of the last lines of dialogue, when Willis asks her where she's gonna go, and she's like, I hear Paris is nice this time of year. And it's funny because Pamela Anderson did end up moving to France when Trump was elected.
Yeah.
She was like, okay, I'm leaving. See ya.
Yep.
And moved to France for a few years.
And that's our recap, our re-look at 1995's Barbed Wire.
Very 90s. Not as fun as I hoped it would be.
It's a letdown because you actually want it to be better.
Yeah, I saw a lot of potential in this.
I always talk about movies I would remake better. I'd do this one.
For me, though, it's hard to imagine someone else in this role, and it is kind of funny when you think about it that I don't think anyone else has tried to recreate this character.
I feel like this...
Or maybe there's such a stigma attached to it
But now,
mm-hmm.
with the way people almost like long-form media more than films,
mm-hmm.
I feel like this would be a decent series.
Yeah.
Because then you could actually talk about who these characters are,
mm-hmm.
what the motivate. A lot of this movie should have been the motivations behind people. Because one of the problems with the big bad here, I don't even remember his name, because it doesn't matter. But one of the problems with him is he's this super evil guy, and we have no idea why. He just is.
That's the thing, too. I feel like it could have expanded more to make Barb feel more like a hero. I didn't feel like it quite went... Or maybe like an anti-hero, kind of
also
thing.
like Bogey's character in... What they didn't do is give that feeling of like Bogey's character in Casablanca. He's not a hero. He's not an anti-hero. He's looking out for himself, but he still just wants to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Like that. He's a complicated character, but he still wants to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
The way it's written, I get none of that from Barb.
Yeah. It does feel like she is mostly looking out for herself. Like, you get these moments where she's, working with the others, but then, one thing will happen, and it's like, oh, I'm just in it for myself again.
Which, if she was saying that so much. Like, in a better movie, she'd say that so much that the audience is like, all right, you're trying to convince yourself. Mm-hmm. Or she would do selfless things and then say I'm in it for myself, and the audience would be like, nah, you're trying to convince yourself.
Yeah.
But this is not that movie. So, let's move on, because this is starting to depress me.
Okay.
Our themes to be heard this week is a video that Tara actually told me about a long time ago, and is one of her favorite videos. I've only watched it a couple times, but it's a fun.
Oh yeah, fun watch. You'll want to get the images going.
You're correct. I didn't know if we were starting that yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll wait a minute.
You don't gotta do that. It'll only take a second.
There we go. All right. So the band that we're featuring this week is not very well known. It was a synth pop band that I first heard of back in 2010. This was a time in my life where I moved around quite a bit and I didn't have TV or anything, so anything I learned about pop culture I learned from like the internet and blogs, and it's embarrassing to admit now, but like I used to read Perez Hilton's blog just to kind of keep up on celebrity news and stuff, and this is where I first heard of Fan Death. He had like a little article about this new synth pop group and how cool their music video was, and that's how I first heard about Fan Death. And ever since I first saw this music video, it stuck with me. And then I showed you the video and you liked it a lot. I think it's I like it a lot. Yeah, I think it's still one of my favorite music videos just because of the simple concept. But as I said earlier in this show, I am a sucker for attention to detail, and there is a lot of detail in this music video that I really appreciate, and of course my love for pop culture and stuff like that is all embodied in this music video.
And people who respect actual artistry, like a lot of the video is a love letter to actual artistry.
Yeah.
And you can see that if you're watching it and you get it, because a lot of people would watch this video and go, I don't know what any of the what is that, who's that guy, what is that? But I feel like that doesn't matter to the artist. I feel like this was made for people like us.
Yeah, because it is always fun to rewatch it and be like, oh, that's who that's supposed to be, or that's who that is. I finally figured out who that one is. But Fan Death was a synth pop band that formed in Brooklyn in 2007. There were 3 people in this group, but I'm only going to mention 2 of them because there is some bad blood that I've read about. So we have the 2 ladies right here.
Hold on. This is what? No, that's what the show's for.
I'll get into it.
Excuse me, but please pour that tea. Speaking of, I gotta go. You keep going. I just gotta grab my pop.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have 2 vocalists who are very artistic ladies and worked on various musical projects before forming Fan Death. And the name Fan Death is in reference to a Korean urban legend that sleeping with an electric fan on in an enclosed room will suffocate you while you sleep. The 2 women in Fan Death, what was that?
I elbowed the Myers headstone.
So we have Dandelion Wind O'Pain. That's her real name.
Get the fuck right out of here.
I'm going to call her Dandy. She was raised in British Columbia in a very tiny cabin with no running water. I'm just gonna call her Dandy.
Please.
She actually, prior to that's so mean.
Come on, I'm mean. Her parents are mean.
Prior to Fan Death, she had a side project called Dandy Wind, and she was in this group with the guy who would also go on to be the third member of Fan Death, the producer that I won't name, but I guess they were like a couple, but they had this musical project, and they had very theatrical live shows that were kind of shocking, and they actually toured with bands like the Horrors, and we featured the Horrors in a previous Scene Again segment. And then we have Marta McKeever. What?
Dandy Wind. It's slang for fart.
Matt.
It is. Don't be mad at me. Marta McKeever.
You kind of made me mad, I'm not gonna lie.
Why?
Because I'm getting into this and you're just being mean.
I'm not.
Yes, you are. So Marta was in a few other bands. She was the front woman for this band called Girl Nobody, and I think she was and is currently in a group called ESL. But basically, they formed Reunited, which is the music video that we're talking about, was on their EP called A Coin for the Well, and then their debut album, what was the name of that? Hold on just a sec. Womb of Dreams was released in the summer of 2010, and they toured with groups like Florence and the Machine, Franz Ferdinand, Ellie Goulding, Vampire Weekend. So basically you have these two ladies that are like performance artists coming together, and they created some really cool music videos. They have this video, and then there's another great video they have for a song called Veronica's Veil. Really pretty. This was actually directed by Dandy. Like, she came up with the concept for the video. It was choreographed by someone named Nathan Drillot, who has become kind of a prominent filmmaker in Canada. He did the choreography. He shot the video while Dandy directed it. But basically we get the video starts with Dandy. She is driving a truck and it breaks down, so she's calling Marta to meet her halfway, letting her know that she's going to be late because the truck broke down. And it's basically like this very whimsical music video of her hitching rides with like these celebrity impersonators.
Which also she's dressed like Alice. Or not Alice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of does have like an Alice in Wonderland kind
of. Wizard of Oz. Like she's.
Yeah, like Wizard of Oz, or maybe kind of like.
But she's wearing ruby slippers, like the ruby.
Yeah,
shoes.
so I really love her outfit in this music video. She has like, it's like this cute little like romper dress and a blue shirt with clouds on it, and the red beret and the matching red shoes, and she has her bag. But basically she's like hitching rides with like these celebrity impersonators who we can. I always like to imagine these were artists that actually like influenced their sound, and the whole, like, the song is called Reunited, and I always liked the lyrics to this song a lot too, and so it's like she's, lost, but she's being reunited with all like of these influences that are helping her along the way,
and not even just their sound, but maybe also like the camp that they work with theatrically, because we also have like a Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman thing, and we have. So I believe that it's more than just musical. Like they really were like reintroducing themselves to the things that made them artists in the first place. It's really good.
And like there's some humor to it. Like we have like Billy Corgan is played by an older man in this.
He tries to hand her a pumpkin.
Yeah, and she's like creeped out. She's like, no. We have Prince, Axl Rose, Lisa Left Eye Lopez, Susie Sue, Peter Gabriel,
Sporty Spice.
No, that was
is that the Left Eye?
Yeah.
Wait.
Martin Gore.
Andre 3000.
Yes.
Peter Gabriel.
I mentioned that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh.
Brian Eno.
Oh, the Eno one is kind of cool.
Bjork. Marilyn Manson.
The Bjork person is played by a dude with a full beard for some reason.
Just
don't question it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Courtney Love. But yeah, it's just the attention to detail. David Byrne, the choreography and everything, the attention to detail with the costumes and everything. I like it too because it kind of looks like it could have been shot in Michigan. It's just, I mean, I don't think it was. It was probably filmed in like Canada, but just the landscape of it, it's like, oh, it kind of, looks like it could be Michigan or something.
And I feel like that's why it's shot in the place, wherever it was. That's why it is where it was, because it technically could be anywhere.
Yeah.
Anybody could look at that and go, oh, well, that's kind of like where I'm from. I mean, unless you're like from a desert state or something.
Yeah.
You can look at where they shot this and go, oh, well, I know 100 places that look just like that near me.
Yeah, but it's a really interesting video, and I've thought of it from time to time over the years, and I remember like a few years passed, and I was like, oh, I wonder whatever happened to Fan Death. I wonder if they ever put anything new out, like, and because I'll every few years go back and rewatch the Reunited video, and I remember there was one time, like a few years later, I was like, oh, I wonder what happened to them. And so I was like Googling, and I came across these images, and I was like, wait a minute, these aren't the same girls. And so I kind of looked into it a little bit more, and apparently they went on tour like over in Europe for their debut album. And after the tour ended, Marta and Dandy ended up leaving. And apparently the third member, the guy that was like their producer, replaced them with these like doppelgangers. Like these girls had like the same haircuts and like hair colors as them. And he tried to like
pass it off as like they were just...
I guess so, and I thought it was so weird. I remember I was like, wait a minute, these aren't the same people. What happened here? And then I never, like, I don't think at the time I figured it out. I was just like, oh, that's a bummer. Like, I kind of wanted to hear more from them, and I'm not interested in this new lineup. Like, I thought the original girls in this video, like, were unique. Like, I wanted to hear more from them.
Well, it's not just that. They were the artists.
Yeah, and plus, like, when I first heard of Fan Death, like, I had looked into, like, their other projects and stuff, and I was like, wow, these women are, like, really interesting and inspiring. Like, they have this passion for art and music, and they keep themselves busy with it, and, like, that's what they want to do is create. And, yeah, so apparently he replace them with these doppelgangers, and now I guess it was a very traumatic time for both of them, because I believe he was dating Dandy, and I don't know what happened, but I guess it was a traumatic time for both of them, and there was like a lot of like abuse and disrespect going on. and they were just trying to make art, and there was all this other stuff going on that they both needed to heal from. And so, yeah, unfortunately, the original lineup of Fan Death ended up dissolving, and I don't think he went very far with lineup after.
Right. What's more disrespectful than stealing someone's name? You know?
Yeah.
When you have like a band name like that, how do you say, well, you two might be leaving even though you two are the band, but I'm going to keep the name and still be the band? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It was a bummer, but both of them, both of the ladies, I have found them on social media. Marta still makes music, and she lives, I think, like in a tiny town in Canada. I believe they both live in Canada now. Dandy is very active on Twitch. I found her Twitch channel. So she's always been really into performance art, but she has like this interactive video game that she puts on every week. Like, she uses I've never seen anything like this, and I still don't completely understand it. Like, I need to watch it more, but she has like all this technology and like green screens, and it's like this interactive video game, and she does like dancing and stuff too, and it's called the Dandelion, and you can find her on Twitch at Dandy Does It. Just look it up one time. It's really out there. Like, I've never seen anything like it before, but very creative and very different. But I'm glad that they're still, doing artistic things. They both have families now.
And that's good.
But yeah, it was just a very short moment in time that really stuck with me over the years. This music video and this song really stayed with me, and it is sad to hear that maybe that was not like a great time for them, but they did create some amazing art out of it. But just knowing that they seem to be in better places now and they're still going and still creating is good. But
so if you get the chance, go on YouTube, Fan Death's song Reunited. The video is, if you understand like the imagery behind it, and the statements that some of the things in the video makes, then you appreciate, then you're probably our kind of people. Like,
yeah, like if you're a fan of like synth pop, new wave music, there's a lot of that influence,
which I see them as like precursors to music that is almost more popular now than it has been.
Yeah.
Because what was the name of that band that got really famous for having not band, like a synth pop group that got famous for having a song on Jersey Shore? That I Don't Care.
I never watched Jersey Shore, so
no,
I don't
that
know.
I Don't Care song.
Oh, who were they? They were like...
Regardless.
Wasn't that like Charlie...
No.
XCX that sang on the song?
Is it? Oh,
I thought so.
I didn't know that.
Oh, that's going to drive me crazy now.
But regardless, like, I feel like they would have been precursors to that. Because now we have artists like that all kind of sound like this. You have, the Dua Lipas and Ava Maxes and it is the artists at the beginning of sounds that you never hear of that influence that sound from then on.
Yeah. I've always loved the music video. I respected that it was the creators of the song that also created the music video, and just the attention to detail, the passion put into it.
And that the character who welcomes our main character into their inspiration is the person dressed as Brian Eno. Like, the person who she runs into, that she, when our character is finally like, oh, I'm here and I found where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
The main one is Eno. That's not a whole lot of people know who Brian Eno is.
Yeah.
So we might have to do, well, you know what?
Because it took me a while to figure out that the big sunflower was Peter Gabriel, because at the time when I first saw this music video, I wasn't really familiar with like early Genesis and like Peter Gabriel's early live performances. So
they could have dressed him with the dinosaur outfit or the angel outfit. Peter Gabriel in the beginning of Genesis was this big theatrical, like it was like watching a Broadway play with this guy. And I know a lot of people later in their career kind of know him more for like the Sledgehammer era.
Yeah.
But early Genesis was just as visual as it was audio. So I think the easiest way to go was the sunflower with the painted face, but there's a lot of looks that they could have done that Peter Gabriel fans would have gone, oh, I know, I get it. Yeah,
because I have no idea what the budget was for this video or anything, but the fact that they were able to create these looks is, I respect this video a lot.
I do too. They recreated Andre 3K's Hey Ya outfit.
Yeah.
They perfectly recreated like the Sweet Child of Mine November Rain.
Yeah, or the David Byrne Once in a Lifetime suit.
With the shoulder pads.
Yeah. Or the music video ends with Marta and Dandy getting on the bicycle with Pee Wee Herman. This is just a delightful, whimsical music video. And if you're into, like, you know, celebrity pop culture or anything, it is fun to kind of try to guess who each character is along the way.
Well, I mean, it's not that... The David Byrne one's pretty obvious because they're doing the...
Yeah. Or, like, the Prince... early on is obvious, too.
But Pee Wee Herman is also kind of, like... It's an old Asian man for some reason.
I mean,
like I feel like there is more symbolism that we're not getting behind why the people look. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, these could have been just people they knew.
That's
as
true.
Well,
that's true.
So,
but I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
She's always liked it. We probably go back to this video once a year. More. I mean, once every 6 months we go back to this video and just kind of enjoy it a couple times.
Yeah.
And it's worth it.
I mean, for a band that wasn't really well known, it's so well made and it looks really nice.
Yes.
But yes, that is the short-lived group Fan Death and their music video for Reunited.
Wait, that's the question I always wanted to. Who's the painted white person with the S&M gear on?
Martin Gore.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I never got that one, and now you all get it.
That was like mid '80s when Depeche Mode were getting more into like the S&M kind of look.
No, I mean I know that. It just never clicked in my head that was supposed to be Martin Gore.
Oh yeah.
I was like, is that supposed to be Rob Halford? Like what? It just never clicked to me of who that was supposed. But yes, that makes total sense that that's supposed to be Martin Gore.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
Moving on
to the main event.
Oh, well, never mind.
Oh, no pun intended or anything.
No. Oh, I see what you did there.
What?
I was gonna. You took my opportunity to say meat and potatoes.
Oh.
Yeah. I think she's getting sick and tired of me saying that.
Yeah.
A little bit. Wait, what is that?
What? Oh.
Sorry, we got a text message from somebody watching the show. Hey, by the way, if you're gonna stop watching, do it now. Spoilers ahead.
Oh yeah, we probably should have mentioned that earlier too, because I think you, for anyone that didn't see Extraction yet, you gave away the ending.
Yeah, but we're not talking about Extraction. We're
case.
not gonna talk about Extraction. Extraction is a 2-hour-long, consistently choreographed fight scene. Congratulations. If you want to see it, watch it. Mm-hmm. It's worth watching.
Is it still on Netflix?
Oh, yeah. It's a Netflix original, so I don't think it's ever coming off.
Yeah.
But where did we leave last week?
By the way, we watched Barbed Wire. We don't actually own it. We had to rent it on Amazon, so I'm not
but it is
sure
but
where else you can watch it.
It is 99 cents right now.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we went out of our way and spent money to watch. It was like $1.
I think you can find it on DVD, but yeah, we just ended up renting it.
If we find one, we'll probably buy it. I'd buy it. I'd add it to the collection.
If there's some special features,
I'd like a commentary.
Yeah.
All right. So, Southpaw Part 5. Well, only 2 more.
Yeah, Part 5. Yes.
Okay. Last week we left off with Tick Wills walking into his gym, and this is starting the theme of things being organized. And he walks in, the gym's immaculate, and then we start to see these moments of Billy being involved in the day-to-day of running the gym. He's not fighting, he's not training, but he's teaching kids, specifically Hoppy, which that relationship is kind of a heartwarming thing for a while in the film, because like you see him training Hoppy and he's doing he's having fun training him. It's not like he's being hard on him or he's being a tough guy. He's doing stuff with the mitts boom, right there, and he's having fun with the kid, which I feel like is what they both needed as people, the characters. He goes back to family services. Layla still doesn't want to see him.
Yep.
But he leaves her nightlight. The one that...
He leaves it with Angela to give to Layla.
Right. It's the one that earlier in the film we hear her say, Mom leaves it on. It's the same nightlight. While we cut back to Billy fixing... here's another thing that I just noticed tonight. There's actually a couple things that I just noticed tonight because I've been seeing these themes, and now that I've actually been putting them together to make our show, I've been noticing more and more as we've been watching through this time.
We need to fix the images.
Oh, yeah. He gives Angela the nightlight for Layla, and then the next thing we see him doing is fixing a light in the gym. Uh-oh.
Go to downloads.
Okay. There we go.
So yeah, he's fixing a light in the gym, and then Tick comes out and tells him that they'll start their training tomorrow.
No, he says, we start tomorrow.
Yeah.
And Billy says training, and it's the most trainer thing ever to go, no, bacon cookies. What do you think?
And then he's like, I'm going to the bar and I don't want to see you there.
Right. Which we get this symbolic moment of dialogue. Because what he says to himself after that is, shines so bright. Like he's singing this little light of mine in his head. Because he just dropped off the nightlight. I thought it was a cool bit of filmmaking. That is what's happening in Billy's head. Is he's focusing on these lights. Not just the lights he's fixing, but the lights he's dropping off for Layla. And we see Tick setting up what is essentially my favorite boxing drill to have done ever. And I would do it for hours and hours. And it's the center line. The center lines, which we'll actually see next week, because we only see one this week. And we get him training. A lot of boxing training isn't done with the physical.
So what exactly is explain it to the people who can't see it right now.
Okay.
What it is for.
So a center line is actually just a piece of tape, like athletic tape, and it's tied from one side of the ring to the other side, and it's always about the height of the fighter's collarbone, or as close to it as you can get. And what that represents is the center line of where their head is while they're standing. Now, one of the things, the big criticisms, especially at the end of the recently retired Cowboy Cerrone's career, is that you kept hearing announcers saying he's got to get his head off the center line. And that is the line where your opponent's punches come straight towards you. If you tie this piece of tape there, that represents that line where the punches would be meant to land if your head is in one spot. Mm-hmm. So you practice how to move your head under, and you practice how to move your feet correctly, so while you're moving your head, your feet are in the right spots, because you can't get caught with your feet together, you can't get caught with your feet crossed. Mm-hmm. Both of those things will land you on your butt. So it's moving while moving under the center line and not touching it, keeping a defense. And one of the things we see is him talking about this angle. Here's your defense. He puts his back up against the line. This, right here. This is your angle. And he's showing him, this is your space. This is how you... And symbolically, he's showing him how to carry himself. Symbolically, he's showing him how to how to move forward correctly. Mm-hmm. Which is what the center line is, both physically and metaphorically. Which then we cut to another piece of symbolic boxing training, and it's the heavy bag. Now, one of the most profound lines of boxing training in the entire film is when he says to him, right now, oh, we didn't talk about the anger. He says...
Yeah, so Tick is setting up to do this work, and he's giving Billy some advice and telling him, like, Billy always fought angry, like he used his anger as a tool. So Tick tells him that fighting angry, that drains you twice as fast.
Right. Mm-hmm. Your opponent is your enemy. But if all you're trying to do is kill him, like, you're going to burn yourself out. Mm-hmm. Which, everything he says here is, yes, teaching him how to box. And this is one of the reasons I feel like this film is so significant, not just to filmgoers and as a story, but also showing the philosophy of boxing in life. Mm-hmm.
Because, early on in the film, the fighting scenes that we were seeing, you're just seeing mostly, like, the money aspect, the fame, celebrity aspect of it. You're not seeing the sport as, like, an art and the actual, like, technicalities that go with it.
But also, what he's explaining here, and yes, you're absolutely correct, but another thing he's addressing is, if we think all the way back to that first fight that we see in the film, mm-hmm. when Mo says to him, don't get hit too much, and then the first thing we see is him yelling and flexing and getting himself all psyched up and talking, and then taking jabs to the face and having to get hit, like, it's addressed. I know you got to get hit a certain amount of times to find that spot. What Tick is actually teaching him is how to box without having to do that. Mm-hmm. Without mentally having to get himself to that place where he's beat up and he has to fight back. Which, in life, is the same way. It always seems like anytime we see Billy backed into a corner, he lashes out and then has to apologize. He's teaching him he doesn't have to do that anymore in and outside of the ring with these... Like, everything we hear for the next 5 minutes is Tick teaching him how to deal with the fight in and out of the ring. This is how you win fights. This is also how you get your daughter back. Mm-hmm. The other one after... The other thing he says after the anger, which I feel like is the most profound, and it's something that I've actually used in real life. When people ask me, "Oh, can you teach me how to box?" and I don't like doing that, but because most of the time guys that go, oh, well, I can do it, are the same guys that can't. But he says, you right now, all you have is 2 weapons. You got a shotgun and a hand grenade. All power, no precision. Which, in that first fight, again, what do we see? And this is one of the things that, if you go back and you watch my analysis of that first fight, he's not... All he's doing is swinging hooks from his hips, and they're hard, and all he's trying to do with every punch is take his opponent's head off. And that's it. There's no... But the slight moments of brilliance in that first fight are when Billy moves his head, throws a straight punch. And that's when he actually lands, and it's actually nice. Moves his head, or he takes a step back, lands a check. Those are the things... So he's had this ability the whole time. He just didn't know how to apply it. And this is also where we see the heavy bag. Which a lot of people see a heavy bag and they think boxers are supposed to hit it as hard as they can, and that's how you practice with a heavy bag. That's wrong. A heavy bag is used to if your heavy bag is spinning, you're doing it wrong. You're supposed to touch it, it's supposed to swing back and back to you, and then touch it twice. Now what he has him doing is not even punching it, he's just touching it with his glove. And he's saying, tap, 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 1, 1, 1. He's keeping him in a rhythm and in an order. And it's teaching him patience. Which, when we said that the UFC event last night was going to come back in to play tonight in our analysis of the show, one of the things we saw last night was one of the most beautiful acts of pugilistic patience I have ever seen established. And I'm serious. I do not like Sean Strickland as a person whatsoever. I think he's a horrible human being. But my friend Nick and I, who is a regular viewer of the show, who's stopped watching already because he doesn't want this movie ruined for him.
Yeah, he still needs to see Southpaw.
We were sitting there going, like, in awe because of the beautiful, patient work, the beautiful artistic footwork that this man was using last night. And both of us just kept saying we couldn't ask for anything more from a fighter. A trainer, as looking at what happened last night as a coach, you cannot ask for anything more perfect than what Sean Strickland did last night. He threw 273 jabs, just jabs. He never got too far out of the way. He never really got clipped. Perfect defense.
In most of the fight, it didn't even look like he was really sweating or anything.
Well, and that's exactly what Tick says. When you're calm, when you're patient, when you take your time, and you do it effectively, you won't get winded. You won't run out of air. You don't get emotional. And even because the guy he was fighting actually was a ground game specialist. And even when he stayed calm and the guy he was fighting shot for takedowns on him, it didn't look like it affected him whatsoever because he was calm. He stayed poised. And this is exactly what Tick is trying to teach Billy here, because he's an emotional person and he lashes out when he doesn't understand how he's supposed to correctly deal with a situation. And these are the moments where boxing reflects life. Because when you're standing there, when you're an emotional person and you're used to just going, and you're standing there and you have to touch that heavy bag without pushing it, without moving it, thousands of times. We're not talking, when they show it, we probably see him do it 100 times. In reality, that trainer is going to stand there behind that bag and you're going to touch that bag that hard, no harder, thousands of times, because you're learning the patience of when to throw that next punch. And it's, like I said, that these moments are some of the most realistic boxing training of any film ever made.
Yeah, so, like, typically in, like, if you think of the Rocky movies, most of the training you see is done in these montages with, like, the epic pop song or something. It's not like that with this. There's a lot of handheld camera work, and it's, like, it's right in there, so it does have this very like real element to it. I mean, there are some like faded out transitions, but it's so seamless with what's going on. It's basically like you're seeing the same scene, but just a few moments like later, like fading into the current scene. It's just, it's very real, kind of gritty.
It's intimate.
Yes.
You almost feel like you're helping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very naturalistic.
Right. When we see him doing the center line, when we first see him actually doing the center line training, Tick walks up and he's explaining to Billy how to do it. Can you?
At first, so yeah, Tick is showing him what to do, and at first, I thought maybe Billy was looking impatient, like, oh, I have to do this, like, why? But no, he gets really sentimental, and he just looks at him, and he's like, my wife would have liked you.
And Tick says, I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
In this scene, one of the things that I noticed tonight, now from what we know from our research up to this point, is that Billy is dressed just like you'd see Eminem dressed at about this time. Mm-hmm. He's got the beanie, the hoodie pulled over, like a thick hoodie, and it's pulled like way down over his forehead. It's kind of a very martial looking outfit.
Yeah, because as we stated when we first started doing our analysis of Southpaw, this role was originally intended for Eminem because of his very well-known relationship with his daughter Haley, and basically this is a father-daughter relationship, so this movie was supposed to be made to be a starring role for Eminem.
Right. So we see him doing the center line. Now we see Tick showing him where his shoulder's supposed to be, where his hand's supposed to be. We see him sticking his hand out like this, which is something that actually comes into play before, and it's something that I noticed in this segment that we're doing this time that I'd never really noticed before. So we see him sticking his hand out, and we see them doing this center line together, and it is one of the most, as a boxing purist, them doing this center line work is one of the most beautiful, because they're doing it in rhythm. It's teaching rhythm. It's teaching order, because his original way of fighting was chaos. Jump forward and throw a big punch and then jump backward, and now we're learning this very rhythmic. While he's doing it, you hear Tick saying, I can hear it. I can hear it. Why he's not saying I can see it is because a trainer will hear that rhythm. That when you hear a boxer doing something correctly, especially in training, in any segment of their training that they're doing, there's always this very rhythmic aspect to it. If they're lifting weights, you'll hear the weight come off and then go back down. If they're jumping rope, every fighter has this very specific rhythm that the rope hits the floor. You know what I mean? Like, as a trainer, once you hear that rhythm, you know that they're getting it. They're improving. And so we hear Tick saying, I can hear it, and he's almost got his eyes closed. I can hear it. I can hear it. There's a part where I disagree with the closed captioning on the DVD that we have.
I did notice, I think maybe that was what was supposed to be in the script, but I have noticed that before, where I think like just it doesn't necessarily match up with the actor's actual delivery of the line, especially if the actor like adds a word or two to their line.
Or a bit of accent.
Yeah.
Because when we go back to Billy hitting the bag which, by the way, this is Jake Gyllenhaal hitting a heavy bag flawlessly. Hitting a heavy bag, hitting a speed, these things aren't easy. And Jake Gyllenhaal he looks like he could actually get in a ring with the way he's hitting this bag. The closed captions on the DVD of what Tick is saying is, who is that? That's not what he's saying. He's saying, move that head.
No.
Move that head. Move that head. And when you see him punch and then move his head. Punch and then move his head. So I was like, who did this closed captioning?
Now that you mention it, I think, yeah, the closed captioning was saying that he was saying who that is.
Yeah. He's saying move that head.
I don't know.
Then we get this cool moment where Tick says, we're going to work on this thing you've never done before. It's called defense. Mm-hmm. And this is actually it's a little chuckle scene. He brings in his assistant coach, Ramon, and he goes, Ramon, suit up. You're going to spar with Billy. And Ramon's like, he's like 30 pounds bigger than me. I don't know if I want to do that. And he's like, don't worry. He's not going to be able to hit you. And he's not going to be hitting anything. And Billy's like, he's not going to be able to hit anything, or I'm not going to be able to hit. And he's like, you are not going to be able to touch anything with your gloves. So all he has Billy do is keep his hands up, move his feet, turn with his block, pay attention to where. And Ramon comes in and he's just like machine gunning punches at Billy. The drill and they show the whole drill, which is something that's really cool that you don't see in boxing. Is them showing the entirety of a drill, and it ends. And I don't know if I hope it's an improvised line from Jake where he goes, "What? Fights like a fucking. It's like trying to hit a fucking gnat." And it's a good line. Which right before the cut, Tick says, "I heard that. That's 50 for swearing."
Oh yeah.
And we go from there back to family services. So he's trying to see Layla again.
Well, she's finally agreed to see him.
Which Angela has a smile on her face. Mm-hmm. It's kind of nice because Angela walks in first, and Billy almost gets up like, okay.
Yeah.
And then Layla walks in like way behind her. And she's not wearing her glasses, and she's carrying a book.
So she just goes right to sit down on the floor. She says hi to her friend that's sitting at the table. And then she's very cold. She's just like, I need help. Mm-hmm. Like she wants her dad to help her with her spelling homework. Mm-hmm. And he notices that she's not wearing her glasses, and he asks what happened. And she's just like, they're not cool. So she's not wearing them.
Which, symbolically in the part of the story that the reason that's scary to Billy is because she is falling into what her mother and I used to be. Mm-hmm. She's going to start doing these things with these kids that we don't want her to do because we've already done those things. Because we were trying to teach her better, and now she's here doing it. Mm-hmm. This right here is where the only time we get to see the tattoo on his left arm.
Yeah.
And it's this. It says father. Mm-hmm. Which that's definitely on purpose. Like.
Yeah, because the way it's so prominent, like he's just holding his arm up like
and on his right arm it says fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And when he puts his left arm up, and he almost turns towards camera.
Yeah. And
it says father. Now the words here, I feel were put there on purpose. Because the first word, she says, quiz me. And he says, dismantle. Mm-hmm. And she spells it. And the next word is hopelessness. And she does it. And as soon as she's done with hopelessness, she goes, okay, I'm done. And she grabs her stuff.
Yeah.
And she gets her stuff and just kind of walks off. And he kind of stays there. The judge. We go back to the courtroom, and the judge recommends 30 more days of the same of what we've been doing for 30 days now.
They need to do further evaluation before they do decide that he can have custody of Layla again.
Right.
And they want him to continue with his anger management.
Mm-hmm. Which, before, that's something that we would have seen Billy lash out about. And it looks like here, he actually almost agrees. He gets like a he gets a pissed off face, but he nods.
And then they do make it noticeable that the others are kind of looking at him to see if there's like a reaction that's going to come out, but he stays pretty calm.
He also turns around.
Mm-hmm.
And Tick's in the courtroom. So we see Tick at a bar now in a booth, and Billy has bought him a drink, and he puts it down. And this is Forrest Whitaker at his best, because he goes, "It's too early for that," and he slides the cup away, and then he takes the cup off of the cocktail napkin, and then he takes a drink of it, and then he goes, and then one more, and he puts it back, and he goes, "Just a sip. It's too early for that." It's a good bit of acting by Forrest. So he asks him why he was in the courtroom, and he says, "I had parking tickets." Tick, you don't own a car. And he's trying to make up any reason other than I was trying to be there for you. Like he's trying to do anything but that. And then we get into the conversation about Tick's eye, which Forrest Whitaker, throughout his career, it's been noticeable that he has an issue with one of his eyes. But in this, they gave a contact in that eye to make it clouded. And Billy kind of makes a little joke. It's almost like you. Your eyes are almost like you. How one's cloudy and one's sunny. Cloudy, sunny, cloudy, sunny. What happened to your eye anyway? And at first he says, "A blue-eyed devil swooped out of the sky and snatched my eye out." And he goes, "No, really, come on." And he tells a story of a Bob being in a fight where he was winning, and he was winning hard, and he got cocky, and the other guy hit him. And when you hear, "I got hit really hard in that eye, and when I tried to open it again, that eye was just dark," that is the symptoms of what's called a folded retina. And I believe you and I have had conversations about folded retina before. Your retina are actually, what's it called? Striated, where it's multiple pieces. It's kind of like this, you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the exact term.
Right. When they take too much impact, they kind of slide like this. And over time, they let go and they fold under. Because there's nowhere, this is all liquid back here, there's no room for them to like go this way, which is good because then you would be doing damage to the optic nerve. They just kind of fold under each other, and then your eye just doesn't work anymore. Which, you know, he's like, "Man, I like the blue-eyed devil story better."
Oh, because he also mentions how they sent him the wrong colored contact.
The HMO sent him a blue one.
Yeah, it was such a hassle dealing with them that he just kind of
kept it.
Yeah. But I did notice like the one Billy's eye that's messed up the whole time is like also his left eye.
They mirror each other. Their whole relationship, they mirror each other, and almost even in the way they move too. When you see Tick do something, the thing Billy does next almost is kind of like the equal and opposite.
Yeah.
And we go back to the gym here, and we see Billy hitting the bag. And Hoppy's kind of helping him out. He's like holding the towel for him, and Tick goes into his office and calls for him. Now here's where we get a promoter. This promoter person isn't really important.
Oh, and
did I miss
very
something?
quickly, like when something is off here too, we notice because Billy goes to leave the office, but then he seems concerned about Hoppy, and he's like, "I'll be right back, Hoppy."
Well, we have yeah, when he goes to walk to the office,
yes.
Yeah, he goes, "Hey, I'll be right back, Hoppy. Don't go anywhere." Like he doesn't want him to leave the gym or the spot.
Yeah, wants to reassure him that they're calling me, but I'm gonna come back.
Right.
To this.
Yes, and that's a good catch. Because I actually didn't see it that way, and I'm glad you did. He gets to the office, and there's a promoter there who says that they want Billy to fight in an exhibition. It's 5 rounds, no money. It's for a wounded veterans charity, and you don't need a license to fight in an exhibition because there's no money. You're not making any money. Nobody's making any money technically because it's a charity. So he doesn't really need his license back to do it. He looks at Tick. Tick's like, Tick says, well, and especially because the fighter that he offers to him is the previous year's Golden Gloves champion, National Golden Gloves champion, and an up-and-coming star. He's referred to as Buzzsaw Brady, which is a pretty cool boxing name. And Billy's like, yeah, no, I heard of him. He's a good kid. And he goes, just think about it. The promoter leaves, and him and Tick talk about it for a second. Tick says, you can do it as long as you practice all the things that we've been doing in here. You do what we've been practicing, and I got your back on this. You can do that. And this is where Billy brings up why he had asked Hoppy to stay where he was.
Yeah.
Hoppy's been wearing the same clothes for the last 2 days. He'd been opening up to Billy about troubles he'd been having at home. Apparently, his mom and his dad got into a fight, and both of his parents left him in the house by himself for 2 days. And Tick, they agree that to talk to him, if he's got nowhere to go, they'll let him stay at the gym, get him some fresh clothes, and they Billy appreciates, all right, cool. So they're both looking out for this kid who Tick kind of refers to the idea that maybe that there's drugs involved with the parents. And then we go from there, from that conversation where they agree to look out for Hoppy, to this event.
Well, first we have another scene with Billy and Layla.
Oh, we do? Yes. The Scrabble one. Yep, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Which, Cobug. I feel like I've heard people say the word Cobug. Is that a word? Is that somebody's name? Cobug? And it's gotta be just Jake Gyllenhaal in character. I don't know if that's in script, but it's a good little bit of Billy trying his best.
And Layla's kind of frustrated, and she's like, can't we just get out of here? So Billy's explaining to her that the court wants them to wait another 30 days, and he still has things that he needs to work on. And she's very angry, and she's getting more and more worked up. She just wants to get out of there, and so she starts taking her anger out on him and hitting him, and then it turns into...
The conversation is, he thinks she's going to be happy for him. He says, I'm going to be able to fight again.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, there's no money in it, but I'm going to be able to, I'm going to get back in there. And she goes, well, I'm going to be able to be there, right? And it becomes this argument over, no, you can't leave here yet. I can't take you with me yet.
And she's insistent because she thinks that he needs her there to take care of him in case something goes wrong, because that was what Mo always did.
Yes. She gets frustrated. She slaps him in the face a couple times, which he doesn't get upset about. Like earlier in the film where we see him get that, like, you don't talk to me like that, young lady. He doesn't do that here. He actually sees it from her point of view up until she says something pretty awful.
Yeah, well, she is yelling at him too, and then like Angela comes in to break it up, and she's basically saying, you're always making promises that you can't keep, and then she says you should have been the one that was killed.
Right. Which they Jake doesn't act anything particular here, but they linger on him after she says that. And just keeping the camera on him after that. It's like, it's him doing the right thing, but also that really hurt. You know, like it's showing that, yeah, he's staying calm, but also that would probably cut deep.
Yeah.
Where was I?
And then now we go to the charity
Right.
fight.
Okay.
Which, when he was offered it, like, he asked Tick, like, what do you think? And so Tick was like agreed to him doing the fight under one condition, that he just does what they practice in the gym.
Right.
So now we're at the charity fight, and Billy is defending himself well.
One of the main things that I noticed, and I know it has no bearing on the film itself, but the person playing Brady looks like a young Glover Teixeira.
Oh.
But we see, anytime they show like an over the shoulder of Billy boxing, it goes into this slow motion. Not like super slow-mo, but enough to where it seems like, and we see Billy doing hand parries, which is a super advanced defense, where you see a punch coming and you actually touch it with the outside of your glove to stop it. So before a punch reaches its full extent, like its maximum where it would hurt the worst, you put your hand out to stop the hand from going any farther, which is distance management at its highest level. We actually saw Sean Strickland doing that last night. Anytime Hermanson would try to throw these wild punches, you'd see Strickland put his hand out and stop the punch before it got to him. He's just throwing straight punches. We see no hooks in this at all. 1, 2, 1, 2. He's moving his head. We see him doing full weaves under punches and staying with his feet in the right spots, and he's moving backwards. He's keeping distance. It looks like a different fighter. I mean, it's...
Yeah, because even when the round ends and he's in the corner, his face is completely clean, whereas, like, early on in the movie, during the fights, he was always this big, bloody mess.
Which even Joe Tessitore, during the first fight we see, says something to the effect of, well, it wouldn't be a Billy Hope fight if there wasn't a lot of blood involved, or something like that.
Yeah, and so, Tick is telling him...
he actually gives him a green light.
Yeah, like, just for points, not for blood, and is encouraging him to go the distance.
Well, he's telling him he can pick up his aggression a little bit more than he did in the previous round that we saw. You can pick up the aggression a little bit, but just for points, not for blood. So don't go all the way back to where you used to be, but turn it up a little bit from where you were just at. Which we go back and listen to the things Ellie has said to him. What?
No.
What are you laughing at?
I was just... Nothing. You would just, before you went into the sentence, you, like, tapped me, and I was, like, thinking, oh, I should tap him back.
Sorry. Which, if we go back to what we said about the things Ellie would say to him in a corner, it was all useless platitudes. Knock his head off. You can do this. Blah, blah, blah. This is Tick giving correct criticism about what Billy should do in the next round, adjustments to be made. You know, okay, that last round was good. You can pick the aggression up a little bit, but not so much you're going for blood. You're still going for points, but pick it up a little bit. That is good corner work. Like, that's corner work that as a fighter watching this, you go, oh yeah, I know exactly what he means. You know, you can feel what you or I would do next. And he goes out, and we see him pick it up a little bit. Whereas we saw him just throwing jabs in the first round we see. He's throwing 1-2s. He's doubling up his jabs. He's throwing 2 jabs back to back. He's actually walking Brady backwards. He's using his weaves to counter. Which are all things that he wasn't doing in the first round we see. But he is just throwing these 1-2s that don't really look like they would be big explosive punches. but when thrown correctly, they are the punches that hurt the worst.
Yeah, and then we do get a quick shot of Maine sitting in the crowd, smiling.
Right. At a certain point, it becomes too much, and Billy knocks Brady out, which is it's kind of a good moment because all it is just these jabs and 1-2s, and he's not throwing big hard. There's just so many that he turns around, and again we see just like last night, we see Billy's not even really sweating. He doesn't have much damage to him. And he turns around, he looks at Tick, and he just goes, and Tick's like, yeah, no, that do that. Like it's great. Like it's perfect. It's that perfect thing that we were talking about. And after the fight, Billy is on the phone with Angela, and he's telling tell Layla that I won, and I'll come tell her all about it when I can.
Tell her that I'm okay.
Right. And he's stopped by Jordan on his way through. Now Jordan has a little American flag in his hand, which is obviously a reference to King, the infamous boxing promoter of the 80s, who ruined the life of multiple boxers, including Mike Tyson and Morrison. Why can't I think of his name?
Morrison?
Yeah. Billy Morrison?
Oh, I don't know either.
Why is this not... It's gonna bother me now that I can't think of his name. Anyway. He was cool. He's the guy that played Billy Gunn in Rocky V. The young guy. Anyway. But it's a nice little nod to real life here. And Jordan's kind of sweet talking to him. He's like, hey, you look like a whole new fighter. We're buddies again.
Yeah.
He's talking to him like he's his best. I knew you could do it. You're doing great. And he actually, Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent, he's kind of acting here a little bit because he's doing a cadence. He's like, man, I knew you could do it. You did such a good job. You're like a whole new fighter in there. I'm so proud of you. And Billy's like, yeah, I appreciate that. Like, he's really... He knows not to buy in to what Jordan's saying, but he wants to believe that he's sincere. Like, he knows he's not, but he wants it to be. Because they were friends. But,
Yeah, so Billy congratulates him on getting the title fight, and then Maines is basically... Like, I could get you a shot at this. I could get you, a review.
Right. Oh, he says I have friends at the commission that owe me favors.
Yeah.
Which is an illegal sentence to say. Because friends at the commission that owe me favors sounds like, I'm going to pay some people to get your review up early. Which is also scary. And it's things that, at this point, Billy can't be involved in. Tick comes up. And there's more conversation with Tick there. Hey, how's it going, Maines? And Tick actually kind of scares him off here. He's like, yeah, okay, bye.
Yeah.
And they have a conversation about what it means for Maines to be there. He says 6 weeks.
John is there too.
Oh yeah. Oh, we forgot John's there.
Yeah.
John. We see John in the audience during the fight. And we see that he's helping Tick.
Yeah.
It's not like he's his buddy, he's his entourage. He's actually helping. Hey, you want me to take care of these towels, coach? Wait, you want me to do this? Like, he's actually there to help. Which, man, it's such a great character. Anyway, after Maines leaves, Billy brings up, he wants me to fight again for the belt, and he's giving me 6 weeks. And Tick goes, you know what that means, right? He's gonna sell it. This is a revenge fight. He's gonna make this look to everybody like a revenge fight over the murder of your wife. And he's like, yeah, it's gonna all be for Mo. And he says it's all going to be for Mo. and you see like the back of Forrest Whitaker's head because it's an over the shoulder, and he kind of goes, like you can tell he's like no, but
because initially when you're watching it, because how it typically goes in movies, like the character gets to a certain spot and then is quick to turn on everything, and I thought that's what was going to happen here, was he was going to like agree to do the fight and just turn back, but instead he turns to Tick and he's like, I can't do this without you.
He says, you are my everything and I will give you everything.
Yeah.
I will give you my everything.
He's like, I just need 6 weeks.
The point he makes here is, Tick says, I don't train pro fighters. And Billy says, so if somebody comes in and offers one of these boys a pro contract, you wouldn't help him? And you can tell that sentence pisses Tick off the most because Billy's right. If somebody came in and gave Hoppy a pro contract, as far-fetched as it seems, what, are you going to abandon him?
Yeah.
And he wouldn't. He knows he wouldn't. And that's why he gets... This is where Tick actually gets angry about the conversation. He's like, damn it, Billy's right.
Yeah, because Billy is continuing on, and he's like, I can't lose my daughter. I need money. I need to do this.
Right. But,
I can't lose my girl.
But also, I don't want to do it without you.
Yeah.
He's very specific about, I don't want to do any of this without you. Tick wills. You. Right? I'll give you my everything. Just 6 weeks. And Tick... He said, I forget the line he says when he walks out, but it's basically, I want no part of this. Which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to leave it this week.
And then next week, we will be concluding
Season 2.
Yeah, and Season 2.
So we're probably going to take like a month, 6 weeks off. We're still going to be working on clips and fun things, going through old recordings.
Yeah.
Still be updating the YouTube. But no weekly shows for a little while.
Yeah.
And then Season 3 will actually have everything planned out.
We need a little break. It is pretty exhausting.
Because we've been going for... I mean, this is episode 11, not counting our 2 retrospectives. So this is 14 weeks we've been going on.
Yeah. And then we had our Christmas episode.
Right, that's what I'm saying. There's two episodes non-numbered so far. Because the Halloween... The Carrie was our season premiere.
Yeah.
And then our Christmas episode.
Yeah. And then you had your episode about the weekend.
Right. So we're on 14 episodes this season. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So we'll probably take a month to 6 weeks off, plan next season, kind of just play around, make some clips, put out some fun stuff, and then come back and now that I feel like we kind of got a groove on doing this the right way.
Yeah.
The channel looks 100%. If you go look back at episode 1 of this season and then come back and be like, wow, the channel looks so much better.
Yeah, we're still learning a lot and slowly improving things.
Well, this is our first live season, too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Everything before this was recorded audio, and that had its own challenges, but learning audio and visual all together, and then clipping and all that. So, thank you for watching. Adopt, don't shop.
Think pink. Have a sparkling week. Invest in a carbon monoxide detector if you don't have one. Yeah. Make sure you hear those bleeps and bloops every now and then. It's winter time. It's a dangerous season, especially here in Michigan, so it's best to be prepared. Best to be prepared. I completely agree. Thank you for watching, and hopefully we see you again. See you next week. Bye.